Hello, welcome to Dr. Slaton Live, The Brain's Body, the Ultimate Experience. Thank you for joining me this morning. Now, I am a human learning consultant with the Progressive Investing Institute of Focused Learning and author of Education and Science, The Brain's Body, Help to Improve Brain, Body, and Sense Events. And the reason why I always talk about the book is because when we talk about the brain, we go to the book. And if you have your copy, it's very intricate because as you can see, you have the brain and the body and the neurologic networks that information moves through that I'm talking to you about. So when I talk about sense and receive path, I'm talking about your sense of feel for self in relation to your brain, body. And everything that we talk about goes through a process where the brain translates the contact. And you can look at the cover and imagine physically how the brain does that because those nerves and those neural networks are transferring information that's translated by the brain into a different language system that produces chemicals in response to the things that I'm talking to you about when I talk to you about hurt, sadness, pain, joy, any experience that you're experiencing, the brain has to be in the lead. That's why I always start right there before I begin to talk, because it's very important. Now, today, what we're going to be talking about is the brain, but why the brain must be in the lead. Because we're talking about family, leadership. Remember, I'm always talking about home. So your practice has to be elevated so you begin to understand the economics of family leadership, which is intricate to understanding how to pay for it. A family is not free. I'm not saying that you don't know this. What I'm saying is we have a lot of people talking about doing things, but you can't do anything without a plan. And if you have a family, you have to have an economic plan. Okay? So that's why we talk about family, leadership, the brain, and the lead of the body. Why? Because children being born out of nothing equals nothing in terms of inputting into them so that they can evolve as an asset, right? So when the brain is in the lead of the body, you know better than to just have sex or just have fun that ultimately may lead to another life that you're not prepared to invest in because a family is a practice. Okay? Now, related back to home, the home has to be a learning place. Why? Because your life is not free, right? And you're supposed to be working with family members to evolve into an economic unit, right? So go to anyone dealing with economics, and they'll tell you that the family is the first step toward entrepreneurship and all those other endeavors because it's the way you set your home up in relation to school, in relation to the neighborhood, in relation to the workplace that sets you apart. And when we talk about America and people talking about, well, I want to live somewhere else, let me be the first to tell you, or one of the many that I already have, if you can't learn how to live in America, then you can't live anywhere else. Because in America, things are hidden, right? But you go to these other places, they don't have to be hidden because they are what they are, and the people are the people. And so you get what you're fighting for up front. So you don't have a period where you can say, oh, I didn't do that. I'm not about that. Because in America, you have the illusion of choice. Okay? So all I'm saying to you is that talk to Dr. Slaton live and his brain. So I'm trying to talk to yours about the economics of learning how to not only live in America, but thrive. So let me go back to the base of our conversation because the context, listen to this, please. The practice of family leadership, 5 steps. Your first step, learning how to live inside that home. No, because that's the job. Why? Because you want every single member in your family to realize why. If you learn how to live in this home with me and we do things the right way, then you will be able to own your own as part of my practice that I'm trying to teach you. So the home has to be a learning place because when you go to school, you have to already be learning and knowing why you're there to learn for your family. You see? Because you are part of my practice. Okay? That's why I'm spending all this time because what I'm saying to you is you're an investment. And when I invest in you, I'm saying as you move from home to school to neighborhood, you have a purpose. And the purpose is not only for me, but for you as well, because fun is not fun unless you can actually live through it and continue to have fun because you're part of a plan and learning how to live outside the home and move through the neighborhood without getting caught up or getting us caught up in some stuff that we then have to refocus and spend resources on defeats the practice of learning how to live in our situations, right? Because everybody's situation is unique. So I don't want to be pie in the sky. I'm saying to you, yes, it could be hard inside the home. But what I'm saying to you is you learn how to learn to live inside that home because you're going to have to learn how to continue to practice that for the rest of your life, right? And if you're talking about family leadership, then that's the base because what you got to do the next step is turn around because you learn what you need to learn in that difficult situation, how now to send your child to school and understand what went wrong with you that must go right with your kid because your child's an investment and you want a return on that investment. And that return is monetary, physical, mental, emotional wealth because they are less problematic because you have them involved in purposeful living from the start, right? Okay, so the second step, learning how to learn inside that school, because that's the critical part for parents, children. I'm talking about social action. I'm not talking about academic action because that's second. In order for you to be successful in school, you must first be successful in social engagement because that's the brain. The brain's a social organ. If you learn how to make contact in the home, it's easier to interact in the next step, which is school, because you're processing. And what are you processing? The social impact of your models inside the home. So you invest in child development in the home so that the child gets to school and they already are expected to grow through the experience because you're already developing them. And the school doesn't have that role. That's your role. The school is supposed to grow your child into academics, which is a different language that the brain has to translate, right? Because that's formal. Yours is social. Yours is very simple. It's like, let me show you how to use this pencil to draw. Not what to draw, but to draw. So that in the next step, when they begin to talk to you about translating noises, sounds, signs, and symbols, you already have the basic understanding of the pencil's purpose and what the pencil can do. It shortens the amount of frustration or emotion that's involved in receiving instruction from another person asking you to do something that's science-based. So you go natural learning first, what I'm saying, parents. You go natural learning first and leave the science-based learning to the teacher. So when you set up your practice, what you're doing is you're making sure that in the home, your child understands how to learn using their brain. Some parents focus on the senses and making sure the child tastes this, tests that. Make it more simplified still. I want you to understand how your brain works through your senses. So when I ask you to taste this, then your tongue is going to come in contact with it, and it's going to give you a sense of feel for it. That's the experience. That's learning, social learning. You're the model. Your child is observing you. When they get to school, the teacher is the model, but it's academic. It's more mechanical. But with you, it's just natural because you already know what to expect before your child even accepts whatever you're trying to give to them. So you already know what the natural response should be. So if it's sour, okay, their face, the expression, see what I'm saying? But that's the brain reacting, okay? And that's the type of stuff you want your child to understand before they even get to school. That's a lot of work. That's the social side because the school is based on social modeling, except it doesn't teach the child that the academic part is science-based, meaning they have to, and if they don't and didn't already understand the social learning aspects of academics, then they have to formate your child. So your child knows I'm going to model this for you so that you get a sense of what I'm looking for or what we're looking for when we ask you to express your interpretation of this sound. A, B, C. Okay, before you even translate them socially, right? And then mechanically. All right. So all I'm trying to get you to understand, I'm trying to give you a sense of how the family has to be set up as a learning place that translates into a business. You see? Because the practice of education is economic development. So if you understand what I'm saying, your investment is not based on your education. Your investment is based upon how well you understand yourself, and you teach from there about learning how to learn with your child. Now that translates to school. Why? Because your child's going to go through things that you may need a sense of too. So now you get to learn how to lead your child through these events and activities because you know what you're observing is the teacher supposed to make contact with the child in a caring way that opens up the child's sense path to receiving that contact and interaction, to remove the emotion that may be unstable because of fear of the unknown. So let's back up and come back because it's very critical that you understand what I'm saying. We're on the social side, right? We're on the natural, holistic learning side, right, of education, right? So let's go to the third one. The third one is even more critical because I always talk about it. It is the most important thing for me because when you lose your child as a good parent is in the neighborhood because the teasing, bullying, peer pressure, and drugs. So you go from the first step is learning how to live in the home, right? So you're teaching your child how to live with you. See, how to live with you. See? So when you go to school, you have the power already established to lay down what it is you're trying to accomplish in the school through a consistent message. My child is learning from me how to interact with you. And that's my job. My job is not to interpret the academics, but to ensure that my child's sense and receive path is open to the contact of information coming from you as a model, and that you do it in such a way that my child can relax and accept the information and avoid the mental confusion because it's an emotional experience, right? So what are you looking for? You're looking for the teacher to break it down. They have to, because you're telling them what they already know. It's science. I need the child's sense and receive path to be open so that when I send the instruction, right, something happens inside that child that lights up. And that's the care part. Without the care, then it's dim. It's like trying to learn in a classroom with no lights, right? You're trying to get something done, but it seems like you just want to relax and go to sleep, right? So it's the way, and it's the social way that you teach a child how to learn to live through the experience, and you're in the lead, right? And we're still dealing with the social cognitive aspects of learning. That's your area. You're not supposed to be involved in the cognitive experience of neurologic events. And that is the teacher's role because they know that academics create an emotional impact. Because what are you asking the child to do? Learn how to wire the brain to interpret these words because these words are to shape their labor now and into the future. And what you're trying to do is shape their labor, but naturally towards self-discovery. That's why you're doing those things with your child so they continuously test it by observing other people. It's all about social learning, right? So they learn through the contact, through the interaction, and the third piece, cooperation. cooperation, most critical, because in the neighborhood, it's more difficult. Because when your child's online and they're struggling to make sense of school, it's easy for them to get caught up in the neighborhood, right? Where, man, that teasing, that bullying, that peer pressure, them drugs, those drugs, all right, have all kinds of intricate pathways to reach them and knock them off track, right? Because they're cooperative, because they're searching. You don't have to wait for puberty. A child is searching from birth for a sense of belonging, right? So when they get to that puberty stage where the system reorganizes, no, you got to set this up on the front so they understand what cooperation is. And they just don't cooperate. They cooperate through signs of care for self. That's why I said, and others. Now, listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying to you, we're doing social cognitive work, right? So when I say self, I'm talking about the other person because they want to ensure that the other person is doing what they need to do to show signs of care for his or herself, right? And that's the observation. And if they're not, the alarm goes off. Oh, I can't cooperate with that because you don't love yourself. I love me. This is what I'm being taught. How to care for me. Now, if you can't do that in interacting with me, no, you're a trap. No, this is what you're teaching. Cooperation. Why? Because everybody knows what cooperation looks like. So I'm not trying to set you or your kid up. I'm trying to tell you, you do these things on the front. On the front. 1, 2, 3. Live, learn, cooperate. You got to live a certain way so that when you know someone is trying to interact with you that don't know how to live the right way, your alarm goes off. The brain in the lead of the body, right? Discipline, self-control. What are we talking about? Sensory organization. You still working with me? Because it's a practice. And it starts from your understanding that your family is a practice and it's your business that you're developing. Because how do you pay for it? How do you pay for it? That's what we're talking about. See? And it's no joke, it's no gimmick. Go talk to a financial counselor. They're going to ask you, well, what do we have to work with? You know, in order for me to create wealth for you, a retirement plan, what's your income? What's your revenue? You see? And if you want to send your kid to college, right, based upon that interaction, you're going to need a plan. That's what I'm talking to you about. But it starts in the home. Not that you don't know this, but because we have so many obstructions and things in the way. The virtual learning communities today, for example, right? So it's not as simple. Why? Because children don't have to even leave their home. But let's stay on the point. The point that I'm trying to make is at level 3, when you cooperate, you teach your child to look for signs of care for self. See? So that when they're out in the neighborhood and someone trying to get them to do something, drugs or something else, they realize you're really hurting yourself. You don't like yourself, do you? You want them to do that. Why? Because at level 3, it's about thinking, learning how to think, right? And that's what you're teaching them. How to cooperate means through signs of care. Oh, they're thinking what they're thinking about, how they living, how they learning. Now, how they thinking, because you're developing a practice of learning how to live in the home, learning how to learn in the school, and learning how to think in the neighborhood. Now back up to the school. You got the teasing, the bullying, the peer pressure, the drugs, all inside the school. So it's already set up as a learning place. So when they leave the school, right, on your continuum, you can teach them how to say no because they know how it will make their lives even worse. Why? That's what focused learning is. When your child is focused, you can have these difficult conversations and they understand. And y'all arguing, but they can make sense of them because what are you teaching them? In level 3, when you think, what are you asking them to do? Build the knowledge base to reflect. To reflect on what? Are they living in the home? Are they learning in school? Are they thinking in the neighborhood to comprehend the affect or the effect? So then I come back because if a child's being abused in the home, this will still work. You know why? Because you're learning how to move through the hurt to become a better thinker between self, other people, and the environment. Okay? It's a neighborhood. Now, number four is the intricate one that connects to the first three because that's what you're doing. You're responding. Your practice is to set your kid up as a responder to the affect of self or the effect of other people trying to coerce you or him to do something that will impact your workplace. You know, and you've already agreed if you're working with me, your home's the workplace, the school's the workplace, the neighborhood's the workplace. You see? So your kid understands I have to do this because that's the expectation, because these are the places I do my work. My mom, my dad, we do our work in these places. Why? Because we have to pay for it, and I don't want to cost more than what I'm receiving in terms of gifts and benefits for my participation. My participation is level 4, participation. See, you respond to participate. When you're participating, you're responding. Things are going through your sense and receive path easier because you're more open. Everybody knows because you're participating. So now you have your child living through focused learning to understand why they participate and what that participation actually means. See? So we're formatting the practice of family leadership. Let me get even more intricate, okay? Because who are you? What are you? Why are you? And how do we know you're the person you are, right? Because that's what we're talking about. Learn how to live with me. Now you got to think about that. See? Because what does that mean to you? Because that's what we're talking about. It's purposive living, right? You want to get on the right path, right? You work with the people that are close to you because you're the model. And if you're not doing it right, that's why your family's in crises because you're not leading. And if you are leading, you're inconsistent, right? And so your work plan has to be such that when they look at you, they see consistent learning in the home to help them live with you. Now, cool down. Let's go this way. This is a better way of saying it. Cool off, because you're probably hot, right? Calm down, right? Collect. Why? Because that's the purpose of leadership. When you're trying to get other people to do the right thing, to help you, help them, help you. Cool off. Calm down. Collect your sense of feel for self and them, right? Because that's the leadership, the brain and lead of the body. Now you're teaching them what you want them to show other people that's coming through the family system. So when you come in the environment, you're consistent about learning how to interact with whoever that is. I just now said it because that's what we just now said. That's what I just described. You are learning how to interact with your family, okay? So that they can interpret your physics, your modeling, your message, right? That's the business side of family development, right? I think I covered most of the main parts. Now, this is the one I've been working on for all the 30 years I've been involved in this. So, critically, this is your takeoff point, right? Now, we talk about the family leadership issue because we want to make it very, very clear, right? Many, many families are broke. Why? Because we live in the most competitive environment in the world. You can't go outside without seeing things you may need, right? But you got to pay for it. So every single day, every single step of the why is about how do I ensure the success of my family, right? Focus learning. That's the first step. And then this, understand that you have to set your family up as a business, right? Learn how to learn in the home, learn how to live, learn how to think, learn how to respond, right? And it starts all over again. Learn how to learn in a school, think, respond. And then the same thing with the neighborhood. Because what are we talking about? Process skills, not programming, because changes are consistent because everybody's on a growth cycle, meaning you're aging, you're becoming more wise. And that's the comprehension. That's what turns your family into a business because every day they're learning how to process that consistent messaging. So as this conflict-oriented information comes in, they can automatically evolve out of it. So if they get caught, it's temporary. Why? Because you know they just need that one experience that tells them this is not for me. I cannot go down this path because I have been shown and taught that's what happens to people. And then look around. They're all around you, the spoiled, the people that thought they could live in America and they broke. That's the reality, right? So a child's an investment. That's the first step. Like it or not, how you pay for it. That's what we're talking about, right? Next step. A community is a place to practice. Practice. I don't care where you go. See, so you're teaching your family these things, right? These are process skills that are transferable to any other relationships they move through. Then they are commodities. Why? Because they know how to live in man-made environments. We're talking about capitalism. We're talking about how do you set up a practice, a family practice that evolves from you into the future. And I already told you what the main obstructions are: drugs, peer pressure, teasing, bullying. We talking about violence, okay? We're talking about deception, where people deceive you into abusing your brain's body by getting you to consume a drug to break you down so they can take advantage of your labor. Your labor. That's what we're talking about. Your labor. See? And I mean, you are then owned by someone else. So your sense of feel for self doesn't matter because you've lost your way. So how do you pay for that? See what I'm saying? Focused learning. Focused learning. I'm Dr. Christopher Kevin Slaton. Again, yes, from the Progressive Investing Institute of Focused Learning. And this has been the Brain's Body, the Ultimate Experience. And I hope you understand what I'm talking about. Today's discussion is about family leadership. I hope you understand why. I hope you didn't lead too soon because every step is reality based. Test it. Test it. Go talk to someone else. But what I'm trying to understand is you may want to go somewhere else because you're uncomfortable with life in America. But until you learn how to live here, you ain't going to do very well anywhere else because this is the most competitive environment in the world. Okay, that's why you turn on the news and people saying, well, China hasn't caught up yet to our economy. And what we're talking about is the hustle. America is the best system of hustlers in the world. And what's your plan? How are you going to represent your best interest if you're all alone and you got 100 children and you can't take care of one because you broke? I'm not saying that's you, but I'm going from the worst because I want everyone to understand we got to stop this pain, sadness, and hurt from emanating from one child to the next, so that all we have is hurt, revengeful, envious people that are just holding everybody else back, hostage, because they don't know how to participate. They do not know how to cooperate. They do not know how to interact. Finally, they do not know how to make contact. They're alive. Thank you for listening. Hope you come back. This has been Dr. Slaton Live. Dr. Slaton Live.